So the spirits really want to talk about resenting our children, which is not such a pleasant thing. And it's first of all a thing we really don't want to admit to ourselves. It's a horrible feeling. But, on and off in a day, we might find, there's a boiling or a simmering kind of resentment that started maybe last Tuesday and is still continuing. There's something, sort of simmering away. The difficulty is it really drives a wedge, between our relationship with our children or our child, and we feel kind of resentful, we feel a bit angry, and, we kind of think, well, that person is really spoiled, actually. Unappreciative and ungrateful of all the things I do. So the spirits really want to talk about kind of what's gone on here, because it really so matters. It so matters for ourselves that we feel we're creating a good relationship with our children, which is what most of us obviously want to do. And so they want to talk about our own childhoods, and they were also referring back to the video on a separate reality, which we did, which is also key here, is a separate reality. So imagining we were a wartime baby, we were brought up after the war, perhaps we still had rationing going on, food was limited, certain types of food was limited. They didn't really have central heating in those days. It was an open fire, maybe cooking over an open fire, maybe even an outside toilet. And maybe our memory of growing up, we may have had some happy memories, but our memory, sort of enduring memory, a lasting memory, may often be of being cold, of being cold all the time, and us not having anything that we wanted or needed, or not being able to afford. So let's assume we're in that mindset. And then, of course, years later, we have our little children, 1 or 2 come along, our lovely little children. And we don't want to create that same reality that we had as a child. We want to create something better for them. Something more expanded, something more enjoyable, more pleasurable, less painful. And so we probably go out of our way. We work really hard to create things. We work hard at work. We work hard in all the areas to maybe earn money, to maybe get a house, to establish ourselves, to establish our status. All of these things we've worked really hard to kind of gain. On these we've worked really hard to step up this ladder. We're no longer living in that, 2 up, 2 down house, perhaps with the outside toilet. We've got these luxuries of a shower and an ensuite maybe, and a lovely bedroom, and got all those things. But our child, of course, remembers how it was for our childhood. So there we've got this lovely little baby who's come along, we bring it up, we give it all these wonderful things, and we get this gorgeous bedroom for this child, and it's all painted, and soft plush carpets, and soft furnishings, and pretty mobiles, and all lovely things, just to entrance and interest and stimulate, all these things, as opposed to our austere 4 grey walls that we might remember, not a prison, but in our memory it was pretty cold. And so we've worked really hard, and we've created this new reality really for this child. This new reality, though, has come from our efforts, our brick and mortar, our real efforts of energy to create this new reality for this child. So when this child comes into the world, they haven't seen our reality, our original childhood reality, of course. No, they haven't seen that, of course. They've come in with their sort of perfect, warm, cosy, delicious reality, with everything provided and created for them. And that's key. It's been created for them. So they didn't really have to do anything, really, in order to create this reality. God, I was just born with it. I was just born, and it was delicious and lovely. Wonderful. For ourselves, we're seeing everything we're seeing is through our own eyes of how our childhood was. So we're seeing this childhood life, this new child's life, kind of from the framework of our own childhood reality. So we're thinking, gosh, you must love that warm carpet. He must love that. Look at him toddling. Oh, that gives me so much joy, toddling on that lovely soft carpet. No frost coming through the windows. No snow and ice coming through the cracks, Central heating. Oh, he must really love that. The thing is, that's what he's used to. He's come into that world. He's come into your world with all of that already there. So he or she is not necessarily going to see. Might do a bit, maybe more or less sensitive. Some people may see it. Some children may see it more or less than others. But some may just not really see. Why would they? They've got everything going on for themselves, They've got all the plush rugs, they've got the mobiles, the toys, the PlayStation, the Nintendo, or whatever the game is. Other games are available. But they've got all of these games to play with, all entertainment. It's all just arrived with them. Okay, maybe birthday and Christmas, they might have to wait a little bit for something, but not much of a wait, not much of a saving, not much time really has gone, not much longing or dreaming or hoping, It's all pretty much been provided for them. So the spirits really want to talk about this difference in perspective, really. So we're like a duck, we're pedaling away really, really hard with our feet and our flippers going flip, 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 and smoothly, but they're getting that lovely smooth reality, you see. Not necessarily seeing that because they came in with that. I was born and it was like this. They're like the king or the queen. They're like the king or the queen. So that lovely contrast that we're enjoying and think, God, they must be so grateful and appreciative of all that. Not necessarily. Because they've come into the world with this already made. It was already formed. They'll just want that next thing or the next thing or the next thing. And so this is where, because we're coming into this equation, if you like, with very different realities, and we all have slightly different realities. As energy, we all have slightly different realities. We've brought a queen into the world or a king into the world who expects kingly things, probably the washing done, the ironing done. Oh, it just appears. They haven't necessarily learnt that, like you did, perhaps in your childhood, that really you had to graft or create things with your own energy. And so they're the king and the queen. We're seeing them as going to be so grateful and they're going to be so appreciative of all these goodies, They're not seeing that though, because their reality is very much, this is what I was born with. Here I am. Lovely. Very nice. So we've got them behaving like that in their reality, and we're behaving like, don't they see this? Or they just want that, and the next pair of this, or trainers, they want another game and another. But what about what they have got and how amazing that is? And well, I'm sorry to say, they're probably not seeing all that you're seeing. Your reality is spinning in a different kind of circuit. Yours is spinning in that circuit there. Theirs is spinning in that circuit over there. And of course, we haven't really managed our expectations on this and realised that we're living in different realities like this. And so what then can start to happen is we really start to build this kind of lack of gratitude sort of builds and builds and builds and builds, and we get more and more resentful, actually, because we're seeing things from our perspective. And I would be so grateful and happy and pleased, and I would just be so thrilled to receive. They are just the king and the queen, receiving something else from the butler. Ooh, butler, I think that fork needs a clean, don't you? Did you see how dirty that was? there's a bit of grubbiness on there. Can you make sure that doesn't come back to me like that? I mean, obviously they're not as bad as that, but there's this difference in reality going on. And this can cause so much resentment if we're not realizing that there's this different reality going on. We wanted to bring them into the world, you know, with all of the provisions they might need and want. We wanted to do that, of course. You know, we love them, we care about them, we want to do that. But we've gifted them the whole life like that. Now, this generation, and of course, may then find it very difficult in their own way, because for them, king and queen status, if you like, everything they've ever wanted has just appeared. So later on in years, perhaps they want a husband, you know, 2 children, 3 children, you know, perhaps they'd really like that, maybe a house of their own. Right, okay then. Well, that should happen then. Waiting. I'm in a good relationship. It's a nice relationship. It's going really well. You know, or perhaps the relationship hasn't come along yet, and there's no sense that there isn't that built-in sense that that generation. Some may, but generally speaking, if they've been gifted, if a certain generation or a certain person has been gifted their life, their good life, there's no learning curve there in the sense that they have to create what they want. So if they're in a relationship, the expectation is just for it to just go like a film. You know, they'll get married, have the 2 children, 3 children, you know, have a wonderful house, it'll all just happen. The missing piece in, given that we're energy, and the missing bit that they may not see is they have to create that. Just as you did, you created this nice house and this warmth, you know, through struggle, you know, and fight really, and battle. They equally have to create and fight to create. So there may be that sense that relationship, well, we've all got relationship problems now. It should just be working really well. I've got a good partner. Why isn't it all? There's no sense that we have to create that good relationship. We have to create the love, create the warmth, create the happy, because we are energy first. There's this missing piece sometimes in this generation, or it may be any generation, not this generation or any other generation. It may just be certain people that have missed this kind of education, really, is that if we want something, we have to create it. And then, of course, for the parents as well, with all this resentment going on, this simmering resentment, this perspective, the spirits really want to talk about it, these realities, because this perspective really helps us to kind of manage our expectations, which is a great phrase, to manage our expectations a little bit better. To understand that this is the life that I wanted them to have, and they've just got it. You know, maybe it would help to talk to the child about this was the life that I had, and I had to work really hard to get this and dig myself out of this and work really hard to create what we had, and, you know, this kind of discussion, you know. Otherwise, if these discussions don't then take place and the resentment builds, all that then happens is the rift between the parent and child, and that just keeps bubbling away. And these things are not talked about, and the one sees the other as just a nag, and the other sees the other as just completely ungrateful, thoughtless, you know, uncaring. And the other thinks, oh, just nag banging on about this, you know. And these two sides sort of remain on their fences, on their separate fences, you know, which we don't want. We don't want these separate fences. So just about managing our expectations a little bit and understanding fully that people have different realities, you know, and we've gifted people different realities as well, and that people need to create the reality they want. Yeah.